Let's go into some more stupid motherfuckers. Glenn Greenwald did, like, I don't even know what this is. Like, a fucking, like, a beachside interview. Like, it looks like the sun's in this motherfucker's eyes. But a beachside interview with Tucker Carlson. Like, I just want, like, this guy, Glenn Greenwald, this guy is one of the biggest pieces of fucking shit I've ever seen. Like, the dumbest. Like, I'm telling you, this guy has no integrity. Let's get our magnifying glass and look at recent history. Right? So, Jair Bolsonaro, when running in the most recent Brazilian election, basically had a corrupt member of the judiciary to place trumped up, made up, literally they made it up, charges on his only opponent very, very shortly before the election took place. So Lula da Silva was put in jail shortly before the election took place, who was, by the way, polling double digits ahead of Jair Bolsonaro, right? And you want to know who blew the lid off of that? One of the main people that did investigative journalism to blow the lid off of the fact that Lula da Silva was thrown in jail on trumped up, made up charges. By the way, he got freed a year and a half ago. I'm not sure. You want to know who was one of the people involved in that? Glenn motherfucking Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald, a couple of years ago, was exposing the government of Bolsonaro for basically manipulating the election in order to install themselves as a dictator. Anybody who thinks Brazil's last presidential election was legitimate at all is a fucking idiot. Glenn Greenwald literally spent years of his life trying to expose the government of the Bolsonaro regime, and now Glenn Greenwald started this, like, transformation. I mean, he's always been a fucking moron, right? But he, like, you know, he goes through these cycles of, like, pretending to be something, you know, in a certain direction, right? I remember, because in 2020, I always say this because it's entertaining. I had an email exchange with Glenn Greenwald. He made this long, like, 40-minute video about how, like, bisexuals don't exist, right? Bisexuals are fake. They just claim to be bisexual. They're not real. And how, like, trans people are ruining America or some stupid fucking shit. And we were emailing each other for a little bit back and forth. He agreed to come on my show. We were trying to set up a time and date. And then he just stopped responding. All right, that's no problem. And then he did this, like, big public fucking Twitter attack against me and blocked me like a fucking loser crybaby, right? So anyway, that's my personal interaction with Glenn Greenwald. The guy's a fucking loser. The guy's a fucking moron. But I want to play this clip here because this shit is insane. This is insane. This is the dumbest, like, I literally, like, hypocrite is not a word that I typically use because right-wingers don't give a fuck about being a hypocrite. But, like, some people still think Glenn Greenwald is, like, some, like, weird pseudo-left. I don't know what the fuck they're going. Hypocrite. Like, we need to invent a new word. Hypocrite is, like, it's old. It's not strong enough. I want you to watch this clip. This is insane. All right, let's watch.
But the question of American media is important here because Bolsonaro, no matter what you think of him, relies pretty much exclusively on American-owned tech platforms, Twitter specifically, to get his message out. Doesn't that make him totally vulnerable to censorship by American companies?
Well, he has been repeatedly censored by big tech platforms. He, when speaking about COVID, was often censored. When speaking about the upcoming election, is often censored.
Jair Bolsonaro was further to the right than Donald Trump on COVID. Further to the right than Donald Trump on COVID. And by the way, being censored. What does that mean, being censored? What?
So Facebook and Google are essentially dictating to Brazilians what they can and can't hear, including from their own democratically elected president. And again,
democratically elected, motherfucker, I swear to God. If there was an award for the dumbest shit-for-brains cocksucker on planet Earth, the stupidest motherfucker ever to exist in human history, it would be this motherfucker. Again, I want to remind everyone, Not like, this isn't like Glenn Greenwald just refusing to acknowledge history. Glenn Greenwald himself, he literally spent years of his life dedicated to exposing how anti-democratic, I believe it was what, the 2018 Brazilian presidential election was? He literally spent years of his life proving. He did investigative journalism, put his own life at risk, had to hire security teams, live in a maximum security compound, spent years of his life exposing how Jair Bolsonaro cheated in the last presidential election. And now, here he is a couple years later calling him democratically elected. Motherfucker, I'm losing it. This is a motherfucker that when anyone ever hears the name Glenn Greenwald, they should immediately start laughing. This is one of the dumbest, like, this guy has no self-respect at all. This guy has no fucking self-respect at all. What a fucking piece of fucking shit. Like, it is insane. Like, watching this, like, if you would have told me when I was reading the fucking Intercept, when I was reading Glenn Greenwald's fucking reports, which were really fucking good on, essentially, again, how Bolsonaro cheated the last presidential election by having someone that was on his side in the judiciary basically charge the other, his opponent, Lula da Silva, with fake charges that, again, were later, he was exonerated. He was released from prison because it was proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that they were fake fucking charges. They were fake. So Lula got freed, and now he's running again in the next presidential election. They literally threw him in jail so that he would not be able to stand in the election on charges that they made up. They made it the fuck up. They made it up. And we can walk back the clock even more to look at the fucking, like, what was it, the impeachment of Dilma that was, like, completely just, again, bonkers. Like, if you're going to impeach her, Bolsonaro should have been impeached in, I don't know, in 2019 when the Intercept reporting came out. But again, this guy, like, we're not talking about someone who should be aware of history, right, and just, you know, is lying by omission. We are talking about someone who literally was involved in the history. He spent years of his life exposing how anti-democratic the last Brazilian presidential election was. And now he's going to bat and he's going to bat for Bolsonaro and claiming that he's been censored. What the fuck? And then also he's calling him democratically elected. When there's one person on the ballot, that's not democratically elected. Now, again, I know there's other people on the ballot, but again, like, imagine, right, if Joe Biden, like, let's imagine Bernie Sanders won the primary, right, and it was Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, and yes, you have the Green Party, you have the Libertarian Party, they're great, whatever, right, and then imagine Bernie Sanders was thrown in jail in, like, August. Like, yeah, sure, the Libertarian people and the Green Party people are still on the ballot, but let's be honest, let's be real, not enough time to actually do anything, right? So, really, let's be honest, it was basically, you know, it's not democratic in the slightest. But anyway, let's keep watching.
And no matter what you think of Bolsonaro, you should have to think that that's a pretty serious problem. And I think it's a very similar dynamic to what has happened in the U.S., where the entire establishment essentially united against Trump. And so all these institutions that liberals and the left in the United States have long held with such contempt, neocons and the security state and corporate media, all united against Trump. And suddenly they were viewed with such favor by the American left and by American liberalism. That has happened.
So this is what's interesting about Glenn Greenwald, is he instead of just saying liberals or the left, and like, instead of just doing that, right, what he's going to do is he's going to say the leftists and the liberals, right? What leftist is going around saying, oh yeah, Liz Cheney, slay queen? What? Like, if you're going to describe two categories, leftist and liberal, point to me a single leftist who's like, oh yeah, Adam Kinzinger. I love that guy. What? That's a liberal fucking thing. If you're going to admit that there are two categories, liberal and leftist, why would you lie about what leftists are supporting? It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
To a large extent here, Brazilian leftists will now often talk about Globo, long worst enemy of the Brazilian left, with a lot of gratitude and admiration. Yeah, it's the major media company that has become completely hostile to Bolsonaro because, again, Bolsonaro ran on a platform of anti-establishment challenge and defiance, and that's not what his government is, but just the rhetoric itself.
So again, some random person online being supportive of some random thing equals the left. Man, we want to define the word sellout. Like, again, hypocrite and sellout. We need, like, is there a German word that we can steal for this kind of shit? Like, I don't know, man. Hypocrite, not strong enough to describe how embarrassing this is. Sellout, not strong enough to describe how embarrassing this is. It's hilarious. Propagandist, not imposter. These are not, like, we need to invent a new word. Like, it's impressive. I'm impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm impressed. Like, seeing someone praise somebody who literally, like, he was so afraid of that he hired security teams because of death threats from Bolsonaro fans and people related to Bolsonaro, that he hired security teams because he was fearful for his life. Now he's going to bat for that guy? I'm impressed at the level of just, it's impressive. I don't know what else to say. Like, to do this on public television where people can just, like, play a clip from what you said, like, 3 years ago and compare it to now. Wow. That's some really interesting stuff. It's really interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm impressed. Glenn Greenwald, man. Holy shit. God damn. That is some crazy stuff. That is some crazy stuff. I am blown away. Wow. Like, talk about going the way of Dave Rubin. Like, let's be honest. Let me look at this fucking guy's face again. Who is more of a loser? Dave Rubin or Glenn Greenwald? I'm good. Like, let's be real. Let's be real. Let's actually have this conversation, okay? Like, at least, like, Dave Rubin was just, like, someone who was, like, a kind of liberally, like, didn't really even really talk about politics, just claimed he was a liberal, right? Like, but imagine a world where, like, Dave Rubin was, like, a journalist who, like, spent years of his life exposing, like, Glenn Beck, right? And then joined the Blaze with Glenn Beck. Like, let's be honest, like, I think Glenn Greenwald might be more of a dumb fuck hypocrite than Dave Rubin. I think Glenn Greenwald might be dumber than Dave Rubin, and that's impressive. Like, again, I am impressed. We have a new benchmark for stupid motherfuckers. This isn't, I'm impressed. Wow. Like, imagine an alternate universe. Now, again, both of them are gay, and they defend people that are anti-gay. Both of them are gay, and they hate transgender people and bisexuals and call them fake, right? So there's, like, an analog there. But again, the icing on the cake for Glenn Greenwald is that he spent years of his life doing actually really good investigative journalism, exposing a government a couple of years ago, and he's now just in favor of that government. Like, imagine a world where Dave Rubin was an investigative journalist. Now, that guy was just like, he was just pretending to be a liberal, just, you know, because it was fun. Whatever. He was just kind of apolitical. Yeah, man, I'm a liberal or something, bro. Like, you know, Dave Rubin is just obviously in it for the money. Glenn Greenwald, man, like, obviously he's in it for the money, but there's like a whole extra layer of depravity. Wow, this shit is fucking funny. I mean, honestly, again, and I say this with complete sincerity. I hope Glenn Greenwald cries himself to sleep every night. I hope he's embarrassed. I hope that his standard of living is decreasing. I hope that he feels horrible. And if I were married to Glenn Greenwald, I'd get the fuck out of that shit ASAP. ASAP, I'd get the fuck out. Jesus. Jesus fucking Christ. Again, I'm impressed. I have to tell you, I am impressed. Like, I see this and I go like, wow, really? Damn. Like, it's incredible. And again, I actively hope that the quality of Glenn Greenwald's life is reducing as rapidly as possible. So, just throwing that out there.